programs so that you can sell service to your customers. And we'll look at how we see the managed service provider market and how where to focus. We'll look at what is really the SMB market, what does that look like, and how how should you attack it, and then we'll look at some programs and different types of programs, and hopefully you start seeing a logic in how this is built up, and how you can try to move your customers from low value, low margin services up to more high margin services, and in that also get more loyal customers and more customers. So that's what I want to cover today. There are all sorts of customers, and in the SMB market where most of our service providers operate, there's typically less than 100 users in a company. They don't have any own IT specialists. They may have some super users, but they don't have the big heavy IT departments as you'll see in the enterprise. And you can go in and deliver some sort of IT support, either very simple services, or hopefully you can build up more advanced services. These companies don't typically spend a lot on IT, and we believe that the average is around 2,000 euros per user per year, compared to on the big enterprise size. They can be in many thousands per user per year. They also have an army of their own IT people. We do see some MSPs that move into the more advanced markets, and we can cover that material in a different way. And I also point you to some more material we have to help you if that's an area you want to go into. But for now, we're where your typical customer has less than 100 employees. There are different classes of customers, and that's what we'll go through here and see what their characteristics are, what is it they need, what is their thinking, and how do you match their services that fit them. Typically, the simplest way of delivering service is that somebody has a problem, they contact you, you fix it, and then you charge for them. With Reactive, and is what we call break fix, or also time and material is one way of describing it. And at the other end of the scale is a fully managed service where you, as the service provider, have taken the full responsibility of keeping the service running. You do everything you can to have the service not stopping. So you'll fix the problem before it becomes critical and the customer notices. And then if you look at the kind of services that you would put into this, and we've grouped this in various categories. It starts off with very simple remote, or you go out to the customer and you help them, and then gradually the different categories go up to very advanced, where you do absolutely everything you can to keep this thing going, and you look at the overall picture, and you go in with very heavy consulting to and operate as we call it as a virtual CIO. You help them plan for the future and so on. We'll come back to more of the details on that. This is the way we see the different kinds of services you can deliver. You'll notice that there's very little product specific in what I'm talking about here. You can use our technology, which we hope you will, or you can use somebody completely different. It's the way you package this. It's the way you describe the value and show the value to your customers so that they're willing to pay for it. That is the important thing here. So back to the basics and the reactive break fix service. If you look at this customer, it's typically a small, very small company, and they don't want to spend anything on IT. They don't have a budget for it, and they quite frankly don't feel that IT is important. So they have this attitude: if my computer, if my network, if my server, if my internet connection, if it breaks, then that's okay. We can do something else while we're waiting for it to come back. And that's the only time they want to pay anything for it. It's when it's broken. And they'll quite often question every single line on your bill when you come back to where you're really here for 3 hours. I only saw you for 2.5. And if you look at the service model, this is then based on the customer phoning you to say, I have a problem, come and fix it. And it's based on the number of hours you spend fixing and the material put in. There's no contract, there's no loyalty. So if the customer decides, they can just phone somebody else to come and fix the problem one time, and you don't know when you go out to fix it if somebody else has been there to fix it earlier, and maybe they messed up the system for you. If you look at your business side on this, how much income you will get from this customer, you don't know. It's completely unpredictable. So it's hard for you to plan your business. And if you look at selling your business at some point, this kind of unpredictable income means that the value of your company is not very high. Your revenue stream actually doesn't really count in giving you your business a value. And then if you look at the services, we talked about remote and on-site support. You go out and fix things. They have some software they run on the machines, and you support it. Same thing as backup. You may do some monitoring on cloud services like Office 365, and they ask you to fix something, install something, help them buy something. It's very project work. You do it, you charge for the time, and that's it. So how can we get into a model where we start to get more monthly fixed fees from your customers? Well, there's a starter point here where we can start with a menu-based offering, a la carte offering. And if you then look at these kind of customers that you can move into this, they're still the small customers, and they still don't want to spend much money on their IT, and they don't have a big budget for it. And IT is not critical. So they're still at this, well, if it breaks, then fix it and we'll do something else in the meantime. But they're starting to see that it is it costs them money when things are down, and they're frustrated about it, but they're still not willing to invest a lot to fix it. So big service packages, they're not interested. Then you say, okay, well, yeah, we're willing to pay something to keep things a little bit more stable. So the service model here then is that we give them a menu of very specific, simple items that they can buy. And I like the example with antivirus. Instead of you selling them antivirus, or they're bought it somewhere else and you install it and that's it, you now make sure it keeps running on the machine, that is updated and is configured correctly. That is managed antivirus. You're not doing anything when things go wrong when they get the virus. That's not part of this. It's just the basic keeping it running, but it changes the way you sell it. Because now it's a contract and you get a predictable amount of money every month for this. Typically also no end to the contract, so it keeps running until they want to stop. You invoice this by the number of devices. So you have 15 machines that run managed antivirus. You charge once a month for the 15 machines. This also has an impact on the value of your company, because now you have a predictable income, and that means that the value of your company goes up. The next step is what we call the proactive offering. Now it's not just to have this menu of services, managed services, but now we're starting to do work to stop problems becoming big. And the customers here are more sensitive to problems because they know their IT systems are critical to their operation. So they see this: if that server stops, I cannot produce my bread or my car or what it is. And you can then discuss the cost of the downtime and compare that to what they're paying you to keep things running. And they're starting to have budgeted for IT. So they know they want to spend, they have to spend. And they're starting to say, I want to know more about this. I want to know that this is healthy, so I don't get any surprises. And they say, okay, show us a better way of doing this. And if you then look at the services that you offer, these programs are focused on preventative maintenance. You look at things that goes wrong over time, and you fix them before they become critical and stop things. And of course, there will be other things that are bigger than this, that's not a part of the agreed service, and you'll charge extra for that on an hourly basis. Again, this is contracted, so you are now more exclusive on that customer. You know how much money you get every month, and you charge per device, or as it quite often also is that you start to charge per user. And when you then go back to the value of your company, if you should have a plan of selling it, this becomes even more interesting because you have more recurring revenue coming in every month that you can predict and say, you buy my company and you know you will have this much coming in. So we're now moving from this managed to more proactive services, and we're focusing more on that. We're taking more responsibility of running these services. Backup is not only that the backup is running, but you also make sure you have the data there, that you can restore them, and so on. And then the ultimate goal here is the fully managed fixed fee customers. You take responsibility for everything, but that also means you take full control. So you know what is in this network, what devices are in there, what software is running it, and you don't let anything else come in there, because if it was there, you would not be in control, and you still would have to fix it. So there's no discussion of what kind of machines they have, what kind of antivirus they run, what kind of backup they run. You decide, you push that service out, which of course then means that you can standardize and get much more efficiency in the way you operate, because you know how things are set up. You can script and automate a lot of the maintenance tasks you have in here. So it takes you less time to run it, but you take more responsibility and you charge more. So this is where you get more and more margin in your services. And if you look at what this customer looks like, they absolutely understand how critical IT is to their business. You can talk about return on investment and how this insurance keep them running and against the cost if it should stop. They have money, they want to spend it, and they're also looking for your advice and how to develop their IT. So if you look at the professional services down to the left here, this is where the virtual chief information officer, technology officer, and security officer, you take that role and you sit down with them and say, what are we going to do next year? How are we going to evolve this? These are the issues we as an IT provider see, and where is your business going? So you're very close to your customer. You work very closely with them. And the service model is everything is outsourced to you, and you take ownership of everything in this. And because you have control of it, you can also offer an unlimited support model. It's contracted, typically priced per user. And the more, if they add more users, you just give them the devices they need and configure them and charge accordingly. This is the highest margin kind of services. This is also where your business gets the highest evaluation. So that was the different kinds of service models that they offer. But if you look at the real world, we'll find that 3/4 of customers are really in the break, fix, and a la carte model. And that's fine. We'll sell to them what they need and what they understand. And then over time, you can try to add more proactive services and move them up the scale here. But at the same time, you keep them on board and you charge per hour and sell them basic services. So most MSPs will have a mixture of these customers and this kind of service offerings, and a lot of them will be in the lower end of this, and you'll try to increase the service level to each customer and the amount of service and money that you can offer them. So these are some of the a la carte, the menu-based services that you can offer. I've had some discussions around this essential IT support, which is free, but it's simply your team is available to help them, and then you can charge for extra work. But it's simply we have an agreement that will work with them. But if you look at the antivirus, you start to charge a monthly fee, and it's quite a good margin for something which is more or less automatic, and you have that link with the customer, and you can see here also that if you start to add several of these components, then it starts to add up to quite a lot of money. And that's actually deliberate, because that opens up for you to say, okay, if you go to one of our managed services, we'll include these packages in there. So it makes sense for you to take one of our managed services and not just say, I want to have managed antivirus, and okay, I'll add patching, but then I can't have any backup service. But then who would not have a backup service? So that's some of the logic in this, that you build it up, and this is not an area where you start to discount. You just say, this is how we do it, but you can bundle them, and that's how we give you more value. And here are some of these bundles where you see more what's in the components, and I go back to the antivirus, which is a traditional product that we tend to understand. So you roll out a managed antivirus service would be, you roll out the antivirus, you monitor it, make sure it is running, you make sure software is up to date, and that the definitions it uses is up to date, and you report back what kind of threats you've seen and how it is. There's nothing about fixing it. That is either by the hour or it's part of a more advanced service. And also look at the prices here. We can substitute the dollar with euro. I've found in my time in this industry that many customers, many service companies are scared to charge enough, and they fail to explain to the customers why this service is worth what you're charging, and then you sort of pull back and you give away the service, and you end up with very little margin. So don't be afraid of charging what the service is worth. And here we're over on the proactive programs, and then look at this. This is to keep a server running, 100 euros per month, and most of these services are things that you can do automatically with our tool, which means that the fee you're charging has a very high margin. So again, you standardize the services, you take control on it, and you sell these services with a high margin, and you offer things inside the central parts of their infrastructure, and their servers, their network, their workstations. You offer a backup service, both for the servers, their workstations, and for cloud services. And this is going into even more details on what a fully managed service should look like. Lots of details, and a lot of this are fully automated. So once you get customers over to this, where they basically hand you the key for their IT infrastructure, you can control the setup of it, standardize it, and automate it. Also, so when you get a problem, you know how to deal with it, because you know what the environment looks like. And here's a fully managed program for workstations. Again, is keeping the machines safe, keeping them running efficiently, and making sure everything is running properly. We also have a focus on network devices. Again, lots of little checkpoints that can be automated. The customers understand that this is a component that needs to be working efficiently, and they're paying you to do that. So this is a summary of how these programs can look. The basic menu system, where it's very little value you put in, but it is some kind of recurring revenue model. They start at a few euros per month for this simple managed, like antivirus, and builds up to more complicated and higher value per device. Yeah, I think that's you can look into more details in what the components are, and I'll show you in a moment where you can find this, and this is also where Nestec is your local partner to discuss this. How does this work in your market, and how do you actually set this up? We don't want you to just take our software and try to work this out on your own. We're here with our distributors and our support system to help you get the most out of this and drive a successful business. So one of the areas where we have collected a lot of our knowledge is what we call the MSP Institute, and you can see the URL on top of there. That is simply the Solvents MSP Institute, and there's lots of white papers. There's some marketing material to help you sell this, and there's instruction videos and webinars where this one we've gone through now is one in the series that covers everything from how do you set the pricing, how do you what kind of components should the different services have? How do you run a help desk? How do you sell the services? How do you train your staff? How do you train your customers? And so on. We have lots of material available here, so go into this website. Is open for everybody. Once you're one of our contracted customers, you also get access to another area where there's training material, there's more documentation and support and so on. But this is for you if you're thinking of how you can change your IT service business, and have a look there, speak to Nestec, and I hope you can find this useful. So that was my formal presentation. Is there any questions or comments?
Yeah, well, thank you once more. We have several questions. I think a few of them you actually answered on the way, but I see there was one saying, what is the market general or most common type of the customer that we see in our markets? So this would be, if I remember correctly, you said that the break fix is still one of the most common type of the customers that we see in general.
I think very often if somebody asks you to deliver service to them, they will ask, how much do you charge per hour, or can you come and fix this, and how much will it cost? So it's really up to you when you talk to them to show that you have a model where you can offer more predictability, more insurance that you will run the network for them. And then they say, okay, well, maybe the right model for me is that you take more responsibility. Is also something that goes to trust. You will be tested by them saying, can you come and fix this? And then you have a discussion afterwards, what can you offer? And then you can explain that, well, you've seen what you can see that we're capable of helping you. This is our service model that you can try. But there's a lot of SMB customers that they don't really want to have a fixed cost until you explain to them what benefits they will have from it.
So, and this actually brings us to a second question, which is how to present the value of your managed services to this type of customers. Do you have any recommendations on, so like, if I understand this correctly, the question is more focused on how to make the customer realize, for example, especially these break fix customers that say, okay, listen, I don't care if, something goes broken, I will just, call you. I'm aware that I will have some downtime. It doesn't hurt me. So how can you, persuade these customers that, hey, maybe if I offer you my services and make sure that you don't have this downtime is better for you?
But I think there's two ways of arguing this, and the check here, and if you looked at the presentation, is that the break fix customer, they don't care if it's broken. And so the control question is, if I stop all your computers, what happens to this company? How long can you manage without your computers? How long can you manage without the data you have there? And if they say, we can do a week without our computers, I would probably say, oh, really? If you never get your customer data back, what happens? And they'll come up and say, well, actually, this is how much we're producing per day. This is the value of that, and if we lost our computer system for a day, that would slow us down to half speed, and then you have a value to it, and then you can start to discuss what happens if we have a more proactive approach to this. So it's like, if you check the tire pressure on your car, then your tires will run smoother and longer. And it's the same thing here. If we have this checklist that we go through on your machine, we clear out the cache, we tie these things up, and it means that it runs smoother. And you can look at both of those two, but I think that the starting point is really, what does it cost you when your IT is not working the way it should, and be a little bit, ask the question again if they say it doesn't matter if our computers don't work, because the question then is, why do you have computers in the first place?
Yeah.
But it's probably the question I've heard the most times, where people say, yeah, but what do I do with the customers I have? How do I get them to buy a higher value service? They don't really understand why they should have it. It is back to this, we're moving towards an insurance model.
I just wanted to add here, because we have some examples from, our current partners, which is that most of the customers actually realize the value of the service when they see it. So the good thing about Solvents is that we can always test out some options, and actually you don't have to pay fully for some things until you are ready, or your customer is ready to sign a contract with you. So we can give you a small trial, so you can show the customers the value of what can you provide. And the most common things that partners actually do is, where the customer can really feel the value of the service, is combining few security products, meaning it doesn't have to actually be antivirus. It can be patch management and basic monitoring, plus addition of backup of documents. Backup of documents is really interesting, because there you can really see, at least that's what we saw from our current partners and their customers. The partners said that this is where the customer actually saw the difference, because especially with the backup documents is a function that the customer can try on their own, meaning you can set it up for the customer, but the usage, for example, of recovery, if a customer needs a special document that is by accident deleted or gone or whatever, customer can automatically access the recovery management console and directly from the cloud recover their own documents. So this is even something for a partner that is positive, because that doesn't mean that every time when a customer needs a recovery of a certain document or a file or a folder, that the customer has to respond and do this that partner has to respond and do this instead of the customer. The service is really running so smoothly and simply that customer can do it on its own. And this is where most of the partners said that they saw the real difference, because customer can actually try it from themselves and see that it works really smoothly. So in case they miss any kind of document, they can recover it in a few minutes. And that was what actually made a big difference and helped those partners to close these customers. So yeah, please.
I've seen a lot of people that say, well, we want to show people examples of how these packages work and show the value. And And the biggest step you have to take is really to get the agent out on the machines, typically so you can do patch management and remote control to them. But once you have that in there, you can better understand what's in your customer's network. So that gives you an audit of what's in there, and you can start understand their needs and guiding them along. And then you can then build up more and more valuable services on top of that. But your costs isn't really going up. You made the investment. You have our service running on it, but you're just packaging more and more advanced services with higher and higher margin. And as you just said, Sine, that the funny thing is that in some cases, the customer does more and more of the work themselves when it comes to simple recovery jobs, that you have enabled them and you're charging them for the service.
Exactly. Yeah. What I just wanted to add before I go to another question is basically, as you said, when you get into the customer environment and install the first agent, you can actually, what some partners said that really helped them, they can do a network scan and get the overall of the customer environment. So gather all the data about all the devices, network devices, servers, workstations that are in this environment. Plus, not only that, what we saw that really helped, there is a option of course connecting to Active Directory and getting all the users in there, to get some kind of control over Active Directory. Plus, if the customer has Office 365, you can through Service tab get the idea of what actually are the costs of their Office 365 accounts, and give them some kind of let's say advices on how to reduce these costs and which accounts are maybe inactive and the customer is paying. So there is the power is in the data. The more data you can provide to this customer about themselves, the more you will positively surprise them. That's at least what we seen with our partners in general.
And there's a lot of possibilities, and what we've tried to do with this presentation, which is a part of our bigger framework, is to show you these are the 4 different categories and the kind of services you will offer in there, so that you don't offer too much and charge too little for it, and then you can have a path for upselling to more advanced services as your customer starts to understand what you're capable of, and also you understand how to sell this. So the more you do of this structured way of doing it, the better you get at getting high value customers in. And it gets quite interesting. I've one of the best things I've had with this job is I've met a lot of IT service companies, and I followed them from being a couple of people sitting in an office with no furniture to then starting to get customers in and starting to find how to build these programs and being really successful with it. And eventually selling their companies. So this is a big opportunity for you if you want to build this up and be structured and good at it, and we offer you the help support to do it.
Okay, so there is one more precise, specific question. If my customer already has antivirus product, I'm guessing some native antivirus product, how should I switch them to my service managed antivirus? Okay, so should you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting with antivirus because everybody has an opinion about antivirus, and people are quite passionate about it. But what's important here is that how much responsibility you take as their service company. And if they want you to come and fix a problem when something goes wrong, there's no problem that they keep their old antivirus and you charge per hour for there. You don't take responsibility for the antivirus being up to date. It may be an old technology that does not catch the latest problems. And this is then the totally other end of you saying, I take responsibility for everything. I use the tools that I find is best suited for you. And that means I decide what goes on that machine. So it's simply if you're to take responsibility for a customer, you need to decide what's going on there. They're outsourcing their IT to you for a reason, and that is they don't have the knowledge to do it. So at some point, when you start to take more responsibility, you just say, that machine, I don't want that antivirus on it. It's much more efficient that you use the tool that you know how to handle, that you trust. If you look at the high end of IT outsourcing, there's big global companies that do IT outsourcing, and they will typically go in, and this is sort of, they run IT for big companies, for governments and things, and they will just take all the PCs, all the infrastructure they have, and throw it out and put in their own. There's no discussion. That is how they run this, and take some inspiration from that. Why is the customer convinced that this is the right thing? You're just using the tools that you trust, and that's a part of your package. If you're to take responsibility for their network, you decide how the tools are used. That was a long answer to saying you throw out the customer's antivirus.
And put your own. Okay. So there is one more question about the recording. Yes, this web meeting is recorded, so we will share recordings with you later with some additional useful links that you may use. So I think that is all from the questions that we have today. I just wanted to mention one more time in the end that in general, this was a general webinar about MSP solutions. So of course we do not push you or encourage you to use RMM. We will be happy to use Solvents RMM. Because there is a lot of these functionalities that are already integrated and come free of charge that can really help you, impress your customers. In case you want to try Solvents RMM, it's free to do so. Feel free to do so. You can have your trial up and running really fast and up to 30 days without any limitations, so you can test the full capabilities of the Solvents RMM platform. And of course, in case you need any additional help with your trial or you're just assistant with some special functionalities, we are always here to help you and assist you. So Harald, is there anything more you want to say from your side?
No, I think you summarized it. I think go home and ask yourself, how can I deliver better IT service to my customers? How can I be more efficient? And how can I make more money out of it? And we will be very happy to show you our ideas and our technology. We have more than 20,000 MSPs using it today, and they're happy.
Okay, so if there is no more questions, I want to thank everybody for joining us. This is one of the list of our webinars that we have planned for you. We will inform you with our next webinars. In the meantime, we are here. Please, feel free to contact us if you need anything additional. And yeah, so wish you all a pleasant day, and till next time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.